Good morning, everyone. Welcome to a special live edition of No Credentials Required, where you don't need a press pass to talk sports. My name is Ryan McCarthy. I'm the host. If you're watching on Tiki Live, welcome. If you're watching on YouTube, also welcome, and also on Twitter, welcome. Just want to remind you if you're on Tiki Live, to go to our social media channels, which is on Twitter and Instagram at NoCredsREQ, Facebook.com/NoCredsREQ, and YouTube.com. If you're watching on YouTube.com on the channel, welcome. But if you can't find, if you're on Tiki Live, you want to find YouTube channel, just search No Credentials Required. And if you miss the live edition, you can also listen on the podcast form, and you can listen to any podcast platform: Apple, Spotify, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, basically any platform. And if you can, rate and review. Rate and review. If you leave a review, I might even read it on the air, whether it be a live edition or a future podcast edition. It's going to be, it would be really, really helpful if you left a review so I can read it. 5 stars is always optimal. So, hey, check us out. Rate and review. Before we go to my guests, I want to remind you about one of our new affiliates here at No Credentials Required. That's InTheClutch.com. 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 They are they do licensed apparel for both the MLBPA and the MLSPA. And what that means is that it's officially licensed apparel of players. I could also get team apparel, retro apparel, any kind of sports apparel you need, they have it. Anything you want, they got it in t-shirt form. It's really cool. I'm going to get myself some gear. What you can do is go to intheclutch.com/nocreds, enter no creds at checkout, and you get 10% off your entire order. So if you get multiple t-shirts, you get 10% off your order, and you help support the podcast in addition to that. So what I'm going to do now is bring in my guests, and I have 2 guests on today. And what I'm going to do is bring in my first guest, Jim, who is one of our interns at Belly Up Media this coming summer. Jim, how are we doing today?
Doing all right. Thank you guys for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. So I'm also going to bring in my other guest. You know him, you love him. He's been on the podcast before, but now he's in his first live edition of No Credentials Required. My nephew, Christian McCarthy. He's got the Yankee gear on. Christian, how are we doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Where's your mullet?
I had to, unfortunate.
No!
You had to part ways with it?
Unfortunate, yeah. This is what we got going now.
So how does it feel to end the business in the front and the party in the back? How difficult was that?
Yeah, we can't have that being a waiter now, so gotta look clean.
Well, the waiter, having a mullet is kind of clean. No, you know what? I won't get into it. I'm not in the food service industry.
I think the last successful mullet might have come from Billy Ray Cyrus, but we might just have to leave that at that.
No, Yarmir Yager.
That's not a bad one either.
Yarmir Yager, the bestest mullet ever.
The best.
And I'm using that terminology. The bestest mullet ever. So, Jim, tell the audience a little bit about yourself. You're an intern with Belly Up Media this year. Where do you go to school? What do you major in? And we'll just tell.
Yeah. So I go to the University of Georgia. So go Dogs.
Oh.
And I'm currently a journalism major, minoring in sports media, trying to get into or minoring in sports management, and I'm trying to get into sports media. So I reached out and applied. We have like a really cool network here at UGA to help us, get involved in internships and jobs and stuff like that for the summer. So I reached out to Belly Up, wasn't expecting really anything as most of the job hunting has gone. And Mike hit me up and said, "Hey, would you like to come on?" I said, "For sure." So I got started, but I wanted to find something to do. So starting off with the show this morning is kind of where it's led me to.
Awesome. Well, we're happy to have you aboard.
Yeah.
And I saw Christian shaking his head a little bit when he said where you go. Christian's a Notre Dame fan. I'm a Penn State fan myself.
Oh,
that's
man.
okay. I hold no grudge against the University of Georgia. They did what they had to do this past year in football, and go Dogs. I guess I can
go Dogs. I mean, my roommate, he's a Penn State grad, and he always tells me that Penn State has the best football atmosphere. I said, that's fine, but who's got a ring? So that's all I'm really bringing up to him now.
The only thing is I can't really compare, because I've been to Penn State for a couple of games, and they're a heck of a lot of fun. They're so much fun.
Yeah.
but I can't compare it to any other experience because actually, no way. I've been to the University at Albany up here in New York. I covered a couple of their games, but it's just not the same. I need to go south. Like I need to do like a southern tour.
The SEC, yeah, the
the
SEC schools are
I need to
great.
do an SEC tour.
Yeah, no,
Not just for the football, because of the food too. Because I'm a big foodie. I'm a little bit chunky. I got a bit of chunk on me, so you can tell I love food. So I'd be very welcome down south.
Yeah, no, all the SEC games are great. I've been to an Alabama football game in Tuscaloosa. I've seen an Auburn game in Auburn, and then of course I went to every I've gone to like every home game since I've been here at UGA. So yeah, it's great. I love it all.
Christian, you went to Notre Dame Syracuse at Yankee Stadium a couple years ago, right?
Yeah, and I went to a few Syracuse games. I think I went to a Notre Dame Syracuse game in Syracuse a few years ago, but nothing at Notre Dame yet, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, although we passed through when we did our trip to Iowa last year.
Yeah, I've passed through a few times.
The Barstool,
it's beautiful. Nothing like it.
It's a nice campus. I'll say that.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to bring in our first topic, and the first topic is: who are the second best teams in the American League and National League? As my cat goes across the camera here. Christian, I'm going to start with you. Obviously, the Yankees are a wagon right now, and I don't know, Jim, if you could tell, we're both Yankees fans. We live in the Northeast. We're Yankees fans. But Christian, I'm going to start with you because you're the baseball expert-ish in this in this chat. Yeah. In your opinion, who are the second best teams in the American and National Leagues?
Well, first we kind of have to discuss the best teams. So, by record in the American League, of course, the best team is the New York Yankees, which is just undisputable because like they're nasty and nobody's ever going to beat them ever again.
They are a wagon right. They are a wagon right now. I'll say that.
Like literally, just the lineup is clicking, pitching is clicking. It's amazing. Everything is going right. And over in the National League, I believe the Mets still have the best record at the moment.
They do.
The Dodgers are like a game behind or a half game behind, something like that. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I think in the National League, the Dodgers are the best team, not record-wise at the moment, but I think the Mets are the second best team, even though they do have the best record.
Yeah, the Mets do have the best record by 0.002 percentage points.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're pretty even. So I would, in my opinion, I think the Dodgers are the best team just because they have so many good players and so many weapons on their roster. Like, it's just unbelievable. The Mets are actually playing very good right now. They're not blowing games like they usually do. Their pitching is doing fairly well. So I'm kind of excited to see where the Mets go this year. But
yeah, me too. It makes it more fun because although you can't soak in the misery of Mets fans, you'll understand their elation. Every once in a while, every about 10 years or so, they get a great team and their excitement's palpable. You can't enjoy you can't bathe in their suffering, but you can kind of bathe in their excitement and kind of see if it catches on to your team.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Jim, what about you? What's
Christian, I think Christian brought up some great points for sure. And just looking at, I'm on ESPN right now, looking at the standings, the team that I want to be the second best team and hopefully become the best team in the AL is for sure the Angels. Last year, before the season even got started, I was doing a radio show here at UGA, and then we made predictions for who was going to be the AL MVP and the NL MVP. And I was thinking, well, if Shohei can get healthy and he can stay healthy, if he can have a good pitching and hitting season, I definitely could see him winning the MVP. He wins it. So I'm just thinking, for me, as a Braves fan, right now, it's very up and down. I'm hoping in the second half of the season or the second, going towards that midway point of the season, we're going to pick things up. But I kind of think the Angels are, just because they have a pretty loaded roster. They have a bunch of talent. I mean, obviously, when you have Mike Trout on your team, it for sure helps. When you have Shohei, it helps out a lot too.
Not just Mike Trout, but a healthy Mike Trout.
Correct. Right. A healthy, eager to play Mike Trout. it makes a world of difference. So for me, I think the Angels, and as I say, the Angels right now, I think, are 3 games behind. But to me, they're to me the second best team right now. The Yankees to me have come out surprisingly, absolutely crushing it so far. I'm expecting that to drop off. Sorry, Christian, at some point, but we'll see. And then when it comes to the NL, the Mets, to me, that's the thing that's surprising too. My roommate, he's a big Mets fan. So last week we were watching that 9th inning comeback where they could do no wrong. So I love watching the Mets. I think they're deservingly the best team in the NL. They have the best record, but I'm interested to see what's going to happen with the Dodgers. As a Braves fan, I've usually been crushed by the Dodgers. The fact that we beat them last year once that happened, I thought, all right, we can win the World Series now. But I think the Dodgers are in the right spot as the second best team, and I wouldn't be surprised in the next 10 to 15 days to see that those positions flip in the rankings. So I'm predicting that.
Well, I'm looking at the baseball. I'm looking at the league standings right now, and Houston is in second in the entire American League. They only lead the Angels by half a game. Yep. So, but they've also won, I think, 11 in a row. So for me, I'd have to put as sad as it is for me to admit, the Houston Astros are the second best team in the American League, just based on. I mean, this is recency bias for me, but based on what they've done on their portfolio, they've done the last 10 games or 11 games, they've won 11 in a row. Based off of that, I'd have to give them the mantle as second best team in the American League. Now, National League, I'd have to say it's the Milwaukee Brewers. They lost last night. Their run differential right now is a +30. They're 10-4 at home, which is again a really good record. Miller Park, one of my places to visit. It's on my bucket list to visit. Yep. Is Milwaukee, Wisconsin for a baseball game. So Milwaukee, second best team in the National League. I definitely have the Dodgers up there. San Diego is also climbing their way up there. San Francisco is also climbing their way. Surprisingly, Arizona is 18-15, and I'm surprised at that, Mark, because I don't think any of us expected Arizona to do very well this year.
No, and yeah, they just seem to pop out of nowhere for periods in the season, and I guess now is the time that they're batting well, they're hitting well. So, I would like to see a surge out of Arizona. For me, it's obviously I want to see my Braves do well, but for me at this point of the season, I just want to see teams go on 5 to 6 game win surges, just so that the rankings get completely obliterated every other week.
Christian, what about you? Who's the second best team in the National League right now?
In the National League?
Yeah. And I know we're American League guys because it's the American League, but in your opinion?
See, I want to say the Mets, but I think I'm not going to. But I do think they're up there. I think they might be the number 3 team in my opinion. But I do think the Dodgers and also the Padres right now. The Padres are only half a game behind the Dodgers or something like that. They're playing very well.
They're half a game behind the Dodgers.
So I would say the Padres at the moment, and they also don't even have Tatis back.
No, that's the amazing part. They just brought in Robinson Cano, or should I say the corpse of Robinson Cano's career, to be an extra bat in that lineup. But he's a veteran. He's won a World Series. He's won a batting title. He brings these intangibles to the team of leadership in the locker room that hopefully will put the Padres over the top. So the West is going to be a really interesting division after June, or after the All-Star break in particular. So, but for now, we've got a very good, interesting race. We're only in mid-May, so this is a marathon, not a sprint, as they call it. And speaking of sprints, I'm going to bring in a couple of extra special guests with me this morning. We're going to bring in, from Godzilla Media, the Levack and Goz podcast, Tom Goz Gozlowski and the equitable Jeff Levack. I don't know what that word means, but I just wanted something.
Hold on, let me look that up.
Hold on, let me see what that
Sounds
means.
good.
Has something to do with horses.
What'd you
I
say
guess.
about my mother?
I don't know. Like, she can't defend herself.
Well, you don't know that. Spirits and weird things. It happens.
That's true. That's true.
Speaking about parents, I don't know if anyone can hear me. I'm in my parents' bedroom right now. Actually, in my childhood bedroom at my parents' house. It'd be weirder if it was in my parents' bedroom, but yeah, that's where I am now. So
I thought you actually were in your parents' bedroom, and that's
Yeah, I thought that's what you said originally. I was like, nice.
yeah.
So Levack, we've got Jim, who's one of our interns at Belly Up Media, and we got my nephew Christian on with us this morning. So you guys,
Morning, guys.
I'm happy to have you guys on
Morning.
for a couple minutes before you guys go to your live stream at 10:30 on the Godzilla Media YouTube page. So while you're all here, I don't know if you saw this clip from this rundown by the Mets and the Nationals on Thursday afternoon, but as a special treat, I put it to some special music. So I'm going to play this for you right now. We'll kind of break it down a little bit, but let me go ahead and show this clip first.
Any use of yakety sax and I'm in. You use yakety sax and you've won me over. It doesn't matter what it's to. You put to a car accident, I'd be like, yeah, it's bad.
NASCAR crash.
Yeah.
Buddy Hill.
And I'm in. It's all good. Oh.
So that play, we talked about the Mets, the Nationals. Oh my gosh, what shout out to our guy locally here, Gardner Royce, formerly of CBS 6, who was a huge Nationals fan. I'm sorry, buddy. I had to play that.
He's a Nationals fan. He understands. He
gets it. He gets it. So, but boys, before you guys, I had you guys on, we were talking about the second best teams in the American and National Leagues. And Levack, I want to get your opinion. Were we pretty accurate in who we talked about for our second best National League and American League teams, or are there other teams that we're kind of missing that stand out in your mind?
I mean, it's so hard at this point in the season. I always I got respect for guys who are going to go out on the limb and say how good teams or bad teams are this early. Like, obviously, as a diehard Yankee fan, I'm going to go in and say we're going to boat race everybody, because why wouldn't I at this moment?
Especially that team in Baltimore,
Yeah, well, I mean,
how dare you? How dare you?
I dare.
Count? Do they even count? Are they even a thing anymore? No, it's tough though, because obviously you always want to put the Dodgers in the mix. You love the youth movement. I heard you talking about what the Padres have been doing with mixing the youth and the vets. For me, I look at that Braves starting rotation, and I just figure at some point they're going to click. And that's not just because Ian Anderson was nice to us on the radio a handful of times. The Braves, I picked the Braves to win the NL East before the season, thinking the Mets would be right behind them as a wild card. And the Mets just came out, gangbusters. So that's a long way of me saying Yankees, Mets good, Dodgers good. Everybody else, I don't really know what's going to happen yet. I'm lazy. I didn't do it. I'm sorry. I didn't do my homework, guys. Sorry.
That's okay. But you kind of understood the assignment. I got you. All right, guys, what about, throw the same question over to you. Who are the second best teams in the American and National League?
Yeah, it's weird. It's almost like a tier system now in the National League. I think you guys both mentioned the Dodgers and the Mets. It feels like it's really close for those two, and then a significant drop-off after that. There's no, really strong third team. I know the Braves are in the mix. You guys mentioned Atlanta, but they're in a weird spot right now. Look, I'd say it's those two. If I had to pick right now, I would still go Dodgers over Mets. So I guess that's my second best team is the Mets. Although I think the Mets World Series wise have a better shot with their pitching and everything else. The American League is so interesting because I'll give credit where credit's due. I know we got double Yankee fans on here, if not more Yankee fans. There's no denying what the Yankees have done right now. Oh, three Yankee fans, right? From offense to defense and pitching, the Yankees have been the best team in the American League so far. I am so intrigued by the American League West. Because finally, I feel like the Rock there. Finally, the Angels might be good, right? With Ohtani and Trout and Manon is the manager and Rendon. It finally looks like the Angels are good. And right when it looks like the Angels are good, the Astros say, hey, we're going to win 10 games in a row. And our pitchers are going to have an ERA, our starters, below 1.5. 11. Thank you, Ryan. That's
11.
Another win last night, right? Their pitchers are like 1.5 ERA. The Houston Astros pitchers, without Garrett Cole, without Justin Verlander, all the names we know of the past, might be better this season. So I would go Houston at 2 because what they're doing right now is wash. You know what? I won't go that far. I was going to say washing away the criticism of the cheating scandal, but they're playing really well without us knowing if they're cheating or not again.
And so none of us said Rays, and the Rays, the Rays are going to be there at the end. The Rays are always going to be there at the end. And then I want to say Milwaukee for the National League. I always want to say Milwaukee for the National League, but I always feel like they're that.
I mentioned Milwaukee.
But they get invited to the party and then they look awkward the whole night. Like they just don't really. They never look right once they get there.
Were you there at the snowball dance in 1994 Chanel High School? There,
Yes, I was on the other wall. I was looking at the other wall. Yeah,
I just think of that scene in Dexter.
Look at that weird kid over there. He's all awkward.
Right, like Can't Touch This. MC Hammer comes on for you, Ron. And you're just doing like the Dexter Morgan dance. If anyone knows that reference, just go Google that if you don't. That's right, you got it.
But yeah, I mean, for me, for Jim was mentioned that he's mentioned he's from Atlanta. I think I got the year from the Atlanta area, right, Jim?
Yeah. So I'm originally from Alpharetta. It's about 45 minutes north of Atlanta. But everybody in Alpharetta, if you ask them where they're from, will say, "Oh, I'm from Atlanta."
Same for the Roswell area and Sandy Springs.
I'm neighbors with them. Exactly.
Yep. I've been there. It's fun. It's a fun little place. So, Levack and Goz, you're going to be streaming in a couple minutes. Actually, Levack, I want to ask you real quick about the Empire. I saw that they've won the last 2 games in a row. You swept the Florida trip. I see you're still recovering from it, but
I got a little family down there. It was a little, had to go dent a credit card at Disney Springs for a little like impromptu family reunion.
Oof. But tell us what's going on with the Empire. We got a bye week this week, and next week we're back home at the MVP Arena. Exciting times ahead for the boys. Yeah,
it really is. Bye week couldn't have come at a better time. Guys all nursing little dings and stuff like that. Nothing too serious except for we've got Magruder, who hopefully will be coming off the short-term IR, and Antoine Grant's a little banged up. We're hoping he'll be back sooner than later, but just a solid team. Sammy Castronova's got his feet underneath him. He's having a boy. He's having a boy. His wife is. He's not that talented. He can run a throw. He can't birth a child.
No.
So just
wait, we're on YouTube. We might get canceled because of that.
I said birth a child. I didn't say pop out a kitten or anything like that. Oh wait, no, I did. Damn it. No. So it's looking good. It's coming together. Defense is. He's still giving up a lot of points, but you're seeing some bigger plays. You're seeing some of the guys who are predominantly offensive players start to play better defense. And, if we, the downside of having Darius Prince be our offensive specialist is we don't have him in the secondary. He is the picture of what you would show somebody for an Ironman player in the NAL this year. And, we used him as an offensive specialist. He won offensive player of the week. He's won an award every week. He was special teams player of the week in week 1. He was Ironman week 2, and he was offensive player of the week in week 3.
Man, he's sweeping these.
He's
awards.
Almost as good as he says he is.
That's a relief because you want to have those guys in your team. Oh, there goes Goz. Goz is out of the picture. Looks like he's going to set up.
He just realized he's actually in his parents' bedroom and he's sitting right where he was made. That's why.
Oh. This is a Saturday morning show, sir.
I was going to say he got
whatever.
Or the stork delivered him. I don't know. What do you want me to say?
Yeah.
Sure, why not? All right, Levack, I know you got a couple minutes before you go to your live stream. Tell the people where they can find you, where they can find the live stream, where they can find Goz, all that stuff.
Well, at Tom Goz, TOMGOZZ. That's his bread and butter. He lives on Twitter. Of course, Levack and Goz podcast, everywhere you get your podcast. But we host it on my parent company's page, the Tech East Fire and Water Restoration Facebook page, at the Jeff Levack on Twitter, and anywhere they sell large beers. Usually, you can find me.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys for stopping by. Appreciate you. I'll direct you guys to the live stream after this live stream goes, and I'll try to direct our audience over there to Godzilla Media, to the webpage, and you guys will be talking all sorts of stuff. So we'll see you guys later.
All right, thanks guys. Nice meeting you guys.
Nice to meet you.
See ya.
All right, take care, guys. All right, that was Levack and Goz. They got their podcast going on. Fun fact for both of you guys: I interned for these guys back in 2019. Was when I was in college, and it was a pretty good summer. It was a pretty
Yeah.
fun summer.
Last
Let's-
normal summer.
Yeah, I'll just tell you guys about the grab our balls for prizes event.
Interesting.
Nice. Yeah.
They were grabbing my balls, but
I was gonna say that event sounds so good. It sounds like HR would want to hear it.
actually, HR allowed it.
Even better.
It's an ESPN radio station, and you kind of do your thing. All right, so we're gonna move on. I don't know if you guys have been watching following the Stanley Cup playoffs so far. I'm a big hockey fan, Jim. I don't know how big hockey is down in your
Ever
area.
since the Thrashers departed, I have not followed with it as much.
Oh, that's so sad.
I know. I
That's
looked
so
up a
sad.
couple of things like before we got started, and honestly, if you just want to use this as an informative segment for how these playoffs are going to work and who we should be looking out for, I think that would be a good idea.
Actually, that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna do. Looking at the banner below here, you'll see that we have Game 7 Palooza. Today we have 3 games that are going to Game 7 in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. We have, I'm gonna look at the schedule here.
Mm-hmm.
We have at 4:30 Eastern Time, Boston at Carolina. 7 p.m. Eastern Time, the Tampa Bay Lightning, the 2-time defending champion, Tampa Bay Lightning, taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are trying to get out of the first round for the first time since 2004. And the LA Kings and Edmonton Oilers at 10 o'clock tonight. And tomorrow we have 2 Game 7s.
Mm-hmm.
We have 2 Game 7s tomorrow, too. Pittsburgh and the Rangers at 7. Dallas at Calgary at 9:30, because Dallas beat the Flames last night 4-2. So it's yeah. Let me see if I can just get that banner out. So Game 7. So I find that the 2 sweetest words in the English language when it comes to sports are Game 7, because Game 7, that's it. It's over. It's over. Game 7 is you win, you survive, you win, you survive, you advance. If you lose, you're going on vacation until next October or next September.
Right. You're gonna be watching the playoffs from the same view as all the fans at home.
Exactly. So to give you a little education or informational, so Boston and Carolina, the home team has won every single game so far. We haven't had a lot of overtime games in that series. I don't think each game, one team has been dominant over the other, and it's been pretty evident the last 3 games in Boston, in Carolina, and then in Boston again. So I expect a much tighter game at 4:30 Eastern Time. It's going to be a very packed house in Raleigh, which, I gotta say this: when the Hartford Whalers moved to Raleigh back in 1996, I didn't think for a second that hockey would survive, let alone National Hockey League would survive in that kind of a market. But I've been proven wrong. I've been proven wrong. 25 years in that market, they've won a Stanley Cup. This team was pretty impressive over this past season. They won the Metropolitan Division by a couple of games. It's the first time I've seen that every single playoff team in the Eastern Conference, they had 100 points each, meaning that you accumulate points instead of, like, for wins and overtime losses and shootout, you get a point or 2 points. But this is the first time I've seen where every single team has 100 points finishing the season, going into the playoff.
So is that good? Is that a sign of good play, or is this just a sign of kind of something out of the norm?
This is pretty out of the norm.
Yeah,
this is pretty. Like I said, I don't think I've ever seen it in my lifetime. Last year was a condensed year because of COVID, and the year before we had the stoppage and we had the playoff bubble. So this is the first normal season we've seen since 2018, 2019. Mm-hmm. But in my lifetime, I haven't seen this. I have never seen all 8 playoff teams finish with over 100 points.
Yeah. I was going to ask too, in doing a little research for this segment, how much of an effect is losing Sidney Crosby been for the Penguins? I saw that they were up, I think, 2 or 3 games, and now we're at a tied series at 3-3. So how has his injury and departure so far kind of affected the Penguins?
So far, I mean, last night it didn't show for a while until the Rangers scored the winning goal in the last 2 or 3 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
But having your arguably one of the best players in NHL over the past decade and a half,
Yeah,
is a big loss, because that's your heart, that's your captain.
yeah,
And hopefully he comes back in Game 7 tomorrow night. Concussions I know he has a history of concussion issues, which is also unfortunate because of the way that the league is structured. There's not a whole lot of fighting, and there's not a whole lot of hitting, which is, there's no enforcer, which is another topic we'll get into another day.
yeah.
But I think that the loss of Sidney Crosby is huge for the Penguins, and the fact that he had to be lost in that way is that's your captain. It's an unfortunate circumstance. So, but Game 7, it's a Game 7. It's a Game 7. The next guy up has to contribute as much as the guy who got injured. Who was injured. So it's professional sports. You got to win games. You got to close out games, and unfortunately, the Penguins have failed to close out both Game 5 and Game 6 of this series, and now they're facing a Game 7.
Yeah,
remarkably with their third string goalie, which is a pretty unique circumstance. You don't see that a whole lot. So,
who are going to be kind of the stars too, I guess, in each of these playoff matchups that we should look for as the casual and non-fans of hockey?
Okay, so if you're watching tonight, so the Boston Carolina series, the guys you want to watch, Brad Marchand of the Boston Bruins. He's I guess you could say the troublemaker of the team. He does all the dirty work. He scores goals. He wins faceoffs. He's a guy. He's the pest. He's a pest. He's a small guy who will get in your face, talk trash, and then score goals on you. So that's one guy you got to watch out for. Nice. For the Carolina Hurricanes, I'm gonna say, let me just see here. Jacob Slavin's one of those guys. He's got 2 goals in this series. He leads the team in goals. Yeah, Brad Marchand, 11 points, 4 goals, 7 assists for the Bruins. Sebastian Aho is one of those guys. He's super fast. That's another guy you want to watch out for. Andrei Shvetsnikov, he's one of those guys you want to watch out for. Another guy for the Bruins you could look out for is Taylor Hall, former New Jersey Devil, former first overall pick for the Edmonton Oilers. He could contribute to. He's another guy to watch. But so that's for that series. Yeah, Tampa Bay and Toronto, they're both loaded with guys. They have the Lightning. They've got a bunch of guys in their team who could score goals. Braden Point, Andrei Vasilevsky, who is a Vezina candidate. He's for goaltender of the year. For Toronto, Austin Matthews, who is a Hart Trophy nominee for the league MVP this year. He scored 50 goals in 50 games in a non-traditional way, but he still scored 50 goals in 50 games. It's a really big accomplishment. Mitch Marner is another guy you could watch for the Maple Leafs. And for the Kings and the Oilers, obviously Connor McDavid. Christian and I got a chance to see him live and up close. Well, not up close, but in the nosebleeds.
Yeah.
Back in December when they played the New Jersey Devils down in Prudential Center in New Jersey. We got to see him and his line mate, Leon Draisaitl. Those guys are 2 to always watch, especially if you're just a casual fan. That's one name. If you say Connor McDavid, if I say to you you're a casual sports fan, if I say the name Connor McDavid, you're probably going to know who he is. So he's always a guy to watch.
Cool.
Yeah. So those games tonight for the LA Kings. I'm trying to think who would be a guy you might recognize. I wouldn't say the casual fan would recognize, but let me just see the lineup here. They got a lot of unknown guys. Look, Jonathan Quick, he's one guy who you might know. He's an American goaltender, American goalie. They basically, for a lot of those guys, they were with the team. Him, and Anze Kopitar, they were with the team back in 2012 when they won their first Stanley Cup. So it's kind of a term. They kind of went in the Wayback Machine. They've kind of acquired the. They got the
pieces
spice.
around them now.
They
Yeah,
got the spice.
the spice.
The spice.
Good
They
way
got
to
the Tom
describe it.
Brady spice. So they turn up
Yeah.
at the clock, and actually the Oilers forced a Game 7 on Thursday night. So. But yeah, if you're a casual hockey fan, those are the names you kind of want to watch. You got 3 games to watch today. They're Game 7. It's win and you're in, lose and you go home. And this is what playoff hockey's all about. You're gonna experience what playoff hockey's all about for the next 2 days. You got 3 games today. You got 2 games tomorrow night.
Mhm.
And playoff hockey is so much fun. I wish more people would get into it. Right?
Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, definitely.
I feel like my friend, he's from Chicago originally, so he's always been a big Blackhawks fan. But he's always told me, he goes, hockey is the best kept secret in sports, and
Yes,
outside of
absolutely.
really, yeah. And this thing is that the Nashville Predators are a team that I'm familiar with.
Yep.
And for sure, the Tampa Bay. When I was in Alpharetta, there was a bunch of people who were from Florida and stuff, and so the restaurant I was working at as a server during the Stanley Cup, what was it, last year when they won? Or
Yep.
2 years ago when they won.
They've won the last 2 years.
That was the last 2, right? So we always had a packed house too for the Stanley Cup Finals. So I'm familiar a little bit with that. But when I go visit my family who lives in Chicago now, I for sure need to become acquainted and know my my hockey, so I can go to a Blackhawks game there when I go back up and visit.
So I've actually been to a Blackhawks game at the United Center. It was a preseason game back in 2011, but it was a blast. During the national anthem, they stand up and cheer during the national anthem, which is unusual for every other part of the United States.
Right,
but
and nobody's mad at that.
No, I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that. I wish we'd do it more often. But yeah, Blackhawks game is fun. I wanted to go. I wanted to go. I almost went to a Nashville Predators playoff game in 2012 when they went on their little run.
Yeah.
But didn't get a chance to. Tickets were a little expensive. But yeah, if you can get yourself to a National Hockey League game, or even if you take yourself to a minor league hockey game, like Christian and I have been to minor league hockey games since he was like 5 years old. And this past season was our first time going to an authentic NHL game.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge hockey guy. Never really have been, but never turned down going to a major league something game.
Right.
And
would you
for every sport?
And would you rather go to a live game or watch one on TV, Christian? I mean,
definitely go live. It was
Right.
very fun in person. Whenever we go, here's the thing. I probably watch hockey maybe once a year, and it's usually when we go to games on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Other than that,
that's our tradition. That's our tradition.
Other than that, I see it maybe once or twice on my Instagram feed. Just scrolling through, I'll see a post about some nasty goal by some guy. But other than that, I barely watch hockey. I can name you 2 hockey players probably.
I named you a bunch more, so you're much more educated in that regard now.
Oh yeah, definitely. I could just rattle all those off right now.
I hope you're taking notes.
Yeah, I forgot to tell you, Christian. You're gonna be quizzed at the end.
Yeah, great. I got it.
This will determine your
saying,
ranking of the nephews based on this quiz.
Good thing I'm the only one.
There's 2 of you. There's Charlie too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think I'd have him beat though, since he's kind of young.
That's true, and I can't really gauge his interest in sports. I don't think he's really into it.
No, I don't think so. It's not for everybody.
No, it's not. All right, so we're gonna move on to my third topic. Actually, we're gonna move on to the third topic, and we'll get into some odds and ends. I'll give you guys a chance to rant or talk about any other sports subject you want towards the end. But I want to bring up the subject of Sam Howell. Sam Howell, former UNC quarterback. He was drafted by the Washington. What are they called now? The Commanders. Okay, because I can't say the other name, and football team is too generic and boring. Right. So, drafted by the Washington Commanders, he came out and somebody asked him about what his. I guess somebody must have asked him a question about what his favorite food was, and he mentioned he doesn't eat steak and he doesn't eat fish. He only eats chicken as his primary source of protein. So I want to throw it over to you guys.
Mhm.
He says he doesn't eat steak. Can you trust a quarterback or any football player? I mean, can you trust your quarterback in particular? Can you trust him after he says, I don't eat steak? Jim,
So
this is weighing heavily on your mind, I can tell.
right. So I come at this with a couple different angles, right? So my question to you is, who is the greatest quarterback of all time?
It depends on the generation. What growing up for me it was Joe Montana.
Tom
Okay.
Brady.
Tom Brady. Thank you.
For Christian, it's going to be Tom
Thank
Brady.
you. Thank you. Okay.
For
So
anybody, it should be Tom
It's
Brady.
it's subjective according to generation. Let's just
Look
put
at the
it that.
numbers.
yeah. So what do we? So my question is this: what does Tom Brady put in his body?
Everything.
Not bread.
Not bread, not alcohol. He everything's an avocado substitute for his fats. He has pumpkin seeds in his smoothies in the morning. So to me, it is
He's a health
concerning.
nut.
He's a health nut, right? And he probably doesn't eat that much steak. You know, probably the red meat's going to be bad for his cholesterol. Something it's not with the TB12 method. I don't know. So to me, the fact that he doesn't like steak, to me, that's a red flag, because it's a red flag in the sense of, oh, you know, you play football. How can you not like steak? What are you going to do in the offseason when you treat your offensive lineman to a celebratory dinner, right? Are you just going to go and have, you know, your chicken tenders? Because that's all Sam Howell eats, apparently, are chicken tenders. And I have some experience with a chicken tender.
Was he 3?
Well, yeah, no, that's the thing is that my best friend, wherever we go, and he has a nasally voice. It doesn't matter where we go. Can I have like boneless chicken wings or chicken tenders? That's all he has. That's all he'll eat. He's a menace to society, but I love him to death. So I've encountered these chicken tender nuts. So to me, it's a little concerning, but he's also on Washington for a reason. And I think this is just another classic example of the organization not doing their due diligence and not bringing in somebody who can bring that, you know, true football, gritty kind of attitude. You know, you just have a bunch of chicken tender eating losers up in Washington. So it's no surprise to me, but, you know, wish him the best of luck, not expecting anything out of him, though.
Christian, what about you? Do you
know,
trust
it's kind of
do you trust
funny
the
that
quarterback who doesn't eat steak?
It's kind
Outside
of funny
Tom
you
Brady.
brought up
Outside
that
Tom
point.
Brady.
Right.
It's kind of funny you brought up that point of your friend eating only chicken tenders, because my best friend does the same thing.
Yep.
He orders one of two things, either chicken tenders or cheese pizza, like the kids' cheese pizza that you get.
Yep.
One of those two, every restaurant we go to. But yeah, you definitely cannot trust this man to win if he is not eating proper nutrients. And that is exactly what steak is.
Correct.
I myself am a big steak guy, and Uncle Ryan, as you know, I perform at the highest level possible.
Yes, of
in
course.
everything that I do.
I see you follow the TB12 method as well.
Yeah. TB12 is the GOAT.
Fun fact: Tom Brady and I are only separated by 17 days. I was born 17 days after him.
Derek Jeter was born in the same month as me. But
Derek Jeter I was born in the same hospital as Derek Jeter.
Boom.
That's impressive.
Boom.
That's impressive. I think my dad was too. But
yeah, all of us were.
so
All
that
4 of
means
us were.
that I'm basically related to Derek Jeter in like some way.
6 degrees of separation
Right.
ish.
We'll need to have this conversation another day, and I want to try to hear it from unbiased Yankee fans, which I feel like I'm not going to get talking to you guys. But is Derek Jeter the most overrated player in MLB history? Now we won't get into that today. But that'll be a question for another time.
If we brought in Kev from the corner booth and Tug it on the quad, he will argue he's the most overrated player.
I can't answer that question right now. Defensively, yes. Offensively, no. He was a great hitter. Terrible player on defense, though.
Except for that one play back on July 4th, 2004. That was
the leap.
Every single lady in New York City was holding on to their chest because he ran face first into a seat at Yankee Stadium going for a ball, which he still caught. But he had scratch marks on his face, so every single lady in New York City who was trying to have a shot at him at the time was very, their hearts were all aflutter,
Right.
Including my mother.
including Christian's, including my sister-in-law.
Perfect. Mark, so how do you feel though about Sam Howell not liking steak? Is this an immediate red flag? Are you
Yes.
trading his rights away? Okay. So
Red flag. Red flag for me. For me, it's a red flag.
Right.
I mean, quarterbacks are they're one of the pretty boys in the offense. You know, pretty boys including running back. I played offensive and defensive line, so I know ugly. I know ugly, and quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs. Not so much fullbacks or tight ends, but like they're the cornerbacks. Like they're the pretty boys of the position players of the NFL. And when I hear a quarterback say, "I just don't like steak," I have to give pause. I have to give pause because I'm like, do I really want to defend this guy? It's like, nope. Next time a rushing lineman comes in, I'm just gonna go, here you go. Free access. But
yeah,
I mean, I understand his reasoning. It's like, yeah, I don't like the texture of steak. I don't like, but I also kind of wonder, has he also had it cooked or prepared correctly?
Or has he had the right cut of steak?
Exactly. Has he had a ribeye? Has he had a New
he
York
had
T-bone,
like a well done blank steak? But like, has he ever had a medium rare ribeye?
So that's the other thing too is like, has he ever had any? Yeah, this thing is, he ever had a carne asada? Like, has he ever been to a Mexican restaurant or Hispanic restaurant, got a carne asada or anything like that? Yeah, we don't know. And I was reading now on The Athletic too. So apparently, he quote, he's never tried a burger or steak. He won't eat seafood. He orders chicken tenders at steakhouses. So I don't know if we can really give him the argument, has he ever been in the right setting to eat a steak? He's been to steakhouses, and apparently for his team dinners, he will bring his own tenders to the meal. So the question is, are they frozen or does he microwave them? Does he air fry them? Like, does he bread them himself? So my thought is this: I would prefer it if he was a guy who prepared his own tenders as opposed to somebody who just thawed them out. Because if you have enough care to get your herbs and spices, your batter, your breading, actually fry it, to me that shows, you're taking the initiative to prepare for that. And to me, that translates well to the quarterback room, right? Because you're going to be probably taking good notes. You're going to be preparing for film well. But if he's just a guy who just pops it in the microwave or the air fryer out of the bag, just off the rip, that's almost your Marcus Russell level, red flags immediately.
Now here's my question. What if he takes the time to prepare chicken tenders? He does all the breading and the coating himself. He gets the egg, he gets the flour, he gets the breadcrumbs, which I hope he uses panko breadcrumbs, because panko breadcrumbs are next level crunchiness and the spices. But if he uses an air fryer to cook the tenders, like the homemade, that's which also another whole nother level there for crunchiness.
Sure.
But yeah, if he takes them out of the bag, if he's just getting like the McCain's or Tyson, I would laugh my ass off if he said that he gets the dinosaur shaped.
I would say Dino Nuggets.
Like Christian, I think you used to have those, Christian, right?
Nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with them.
I didn't say there's nothing wrong with them. I'm just saying it was just that would be hysterical if you had the dinosaur shaped chicken nuggets, which was just, oh my goodness,
they're the best.
But yeah, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, Jim. If he takes the time to prepare him himself, like if he knows how to make a Chick-fil-A style or a KFC style type of homemade chicken tenders, I give him that respect.
Okay.
But if he's just taking them out of the bag and just thawing them or microwaving them, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and you brought up Chick-fil-A, and I'll let you guys in on this too. So my mom is actually an owner and operator of a Chick-fil-A in near Chicago. So I have full insight, and I know how we prepare our tenders, and I think they're the best thing on the menu for sure at Chick-fil-A. So if he does do the due diligence, even if he does it, 40% of what we put into our tenders, I would be, to me, that's a good sign. But my other question too is that he's North Carolina born and bred. Do you think the geography of North Carolina or being in North Carolina is going to limit his steak options? Because I've never had a steak in North Carolina. Not sure what they're really known for food wise there, but
Barbecue.
Barbecue.
Barbecue. What do you say, Christian?
Crawfish.
Crawfish in North Carolina? Is that
no?
is
That's
that too
no.
north?
That's Louisiana.
That's Louisiana. Well, that's
I thought it was just all
Louisiana.
South. I've never even been down there before. Bro, I've been to like
Listen,
Florida.
I don't consider North Carolina part of the South. I'm sorry. Like
Wow.
Tennessee is about as far
Don't
north
look
as
at
about
me.
as
I've
far
never even
north
been
as
down there
Wow.
before. So
Okay, all right, so that kind of brings up another topic. So,
Sure.
so I watch this channel called it's a Southern thing, and it's on YouTube.
Yeah.
Great channel, wholesome content, excellent stuff. They actually quizzed a couple of the actors from that
Mhm.
about where do you cut off? What's the line? What's the cutoff line for the South?
Yep.
And how far west do you go?
Yep.
And the one guy said, "Okay, I'm gonna incorporate from I think he said Virginia to Texas. Includes I think he included Tennessee, but he put little notches like he took off Nashville, he took off Atlanta, took off Virginia Beach, took off Miami
Yep.
as not so south because, as he put it, it's like Nashville getting a little too crazy with the hockey."
So here's what I'll say as a born Southerner, right? So to me, as far north as I'll go is Tennessee, which of course borders North Carolina. But to me, North Carolina is the weather's not consistent enough with Southern weather that you can consider it that. Additionally, it does not have any Southern colors, like what I consider to be like traditional Southern colors. And it's a lot of blue, a lot of royal blue, whites, and that type of stuff. Not really the Southern colors that you would see, like, the reds.
UNC Duke have something to do with that. Obviously.
Right.
The triangle.
Correct. And, and as far as west as I would go, you have to go, to me, Texas is its own entity. Oklahoma's not going to be it. I guess you could include Arkansas and Missouri. Missouri's a little too north for me too, being just above, Tennessee.
Wow.
So to me, my core south is going to be as far north as Tennessee. You're going to go to South Carolina for east, and then you're going to go out west to Louisiana. Maybe we'll let Arkansas squeeze in, but it's only really about 5 to 6 states. And then Florida is just an entity all on its own. Once you go past a certain point in Florida, northern Florida, that is a interesting place for sure.
This is a good conversation for another day, gentlemen. I think. I mean, because for us, I mean, Christian, I don't know how big into geography you are about our area, but
it's like
some people consider
the upstate New York conversation, like
the upstate New York,
New York,
like where does upstate New York officially begin?
Yeah,
and I say it begins right after Westchester County.
I say, like right at Coxsackie. Like that's where I think it is, like a little below Albany.
Okay,
but like all the way up, and then it extends out until Syracuse. That's what I consider upstate New York, and then everything after Syracuse is Western New York.
Interesting, because you're not considering the southern tier, Binghamton, Elmira, that area, the northern New York, Capital District.
It would be easier if I could draw it on a map, because like I feel like I'm missing
I can find
something.
I can find that map.
Yeah.
This is just a quick.
Draw it right up for you.
Yeah, but I mean, some people actually think I consider New York part of New England, and that's no. New England is Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. That's
New
New
York
England.
is New York. That's what we do.
New York is Mid-Atlantic. New York is Mid-Atlantic because you're incorporating Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware.
I can agree with that, because when I think of New York, I think of Pennsylvania, New Jersey more than I think
and Maryland to an extent.
I would consider Maryland more New England, but yeah, no, that's a fair point.
Yeah, and then you got West Virginia, which is the, depending on how you look at it, either America's pork chop or America's drumstick. That's not. I don't consider that
I just say build a wall around West Virginia. I don't know if we need it.
I've driven through West Virginia. I've actually never been to West Virginia. I know there are some parts that are really nice, but there are some parts that are really sketch.
Yeah.
Like I've seen the documentary about the White family.
Yeah,
I've seen that documentary.
Yeah.
That part of West Virginia is nuts.
Yeah. There's some parts of Georgia like that too, especially when you get near the southern border of like the southwest border of Alabama, and then the northern west border of Florida. That area between like those three states, between Georgia, Alabama, and Florida, that is some of the most interesting places you'll ever see in this country, for sure.
One of my brothers went to visit one of my cousins in North Carolina, or was it North Carolina, South Carolina? I think she was still living in North Carolina at the time.
Okay.
And he told a story about he drove out to this bar in the middle of nowhere, south of Charlotte.
Yep.
And he walked in, and everybody just turned their heads and looked at him
and said, "You're not one of us," under their breath. Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah. I mean, my other brother, Christian's other uncle, let's put this. He's 6'6".
Okay.
He's shaped like an offensive lineman.
And they probably say, "Where do you play football?"
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And he's bald and has this goatee, like this Fu Manchu goatee that he grows out to like here. So yeah, they took one look at. Yeah, yeah, but he works in IT, which is the funny part.
Yeah, he's a unit, but a little tech geek.
Yeah, he's a tech geek unit, which is fun. All right, so we got a couple more minutes, fellas. I'm gonna throw it over to odds and ends. If you have a sports rant or a sports topic you want to talk about quickly, go ahead and throw it out there. If you guys got any thoughts about sport, any other thoughts about sports you want to talk about?
Yeah, start us out, Christian.
The Red Sox suck. They're terrible.
I can concur. All right, Jim, you got anything before we sign off?
Yeah. So my question is, the NBA. These are some of the best NBA playoffs I've seen in a long time. Jason Tatum to me seems like he's the truth now. In Boston, I'm not a big Celtics fan. I think I'd rather see the Bucks win. I'm a bigger fan of Giannis. To me, though, and what are y'all's predictions for the NBA Finals? Because I think it's going to be Bucks against Golden State. I mean, Golden State with their death lineup of Curry, Clay, Draymond, Poole, and Wiggins. To me, they're just lights out. Like, you can't stop that. But what are y'all's predictions for the NBA Finals? I know we're a series away from that, but where do y'all think it's going to go?
Go ahead, Christian.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, I don't watch that much NBA, so I'm going to hand it over to you first.
I've watched about 10 minutes of the NBA playoffs this year. I'm more of a baseball guy, as you can probably see.
Yeah.
But I mean, I look at it on ESPN because ESPN doesn't cover baseball or really anything besides basketball and football.
Yeah.
But I open up the ESPN app and I always see that Golden State's just blowing out Memphis, like whenever I see it. And it's partially because Ja was out. Like, Ja's nasty. Like, I think he's one of the best players in the league.
He is.
But I have a feeling it's going to be Heat and Golden State.
Okay.
I like this Heat a lot. Jimmy Butler's gross.
Yeah.
He's gross. That boy. Like, nobody messes with him. He's always there. So I think that could be a possibility. I don't really know for sure because I don't really watch basketball.
That's a good prediction. And so that's the other thing too that's been interesting is that so Golden State won the semifinal last night, and so they're going to advance to the Western Conference Finals. But it was interesting because the first game that Ja Morant was out, the Grizzlies beat Golden State by nearly 50 points. It was one of the largest playoff losses in NBA history, and everybody's talking about the team plays better without Ja, in the sense is that, Ja takes up a lot of the touches that they have on the offensive side. So having the ability to not always feed him is great for them. So, yeah.
For me, I'm hoping it's a Phoenix Milwaukee rematch. That's just
Phoenix
that's all
Milwaukee.
I'm gonna say.
Really?
all I'm
Okay.
gonna say.
All right. I'll take that. Hey, as long as Scott Foster isn't officiating the game, Chris Paul might have a chance for the playoffs. Or might have a chance of getting a ring.
All right. So thanks again, folks, for watching. No Credentials Required, where you don't need a press pass to talk about sports, presented by Belly Up Sports in association with Godzilla Media. I've been your host, Ryan McCarthy. That's Jim and my nephew Christian. And if you're watching on Tiki Live, stay tuned for the Sane podcast. If you're on YouTube, go over to Godzilla Media, check out Levack and Goz. And until then, we'll catch you next time.